Have you ever found yourself wondering how truly significant shifts in society actually happen?
Mhm.
How do those, deeply entrenched issues finally get addressed? Or how do brand new challenges manage to capture our collective attention?
It's a powerful dynamic, isn't it? That
Yeah.
feeling that the world is undeniably moving. And so often, that momentum isn't just a top-down directive, it's a forceful push from the ground up.
Exactly, from collective voices.
Yeah.
And that powerful push is what we're diving deep into today. The fascinating world of social movements.
Mm-hmm.
Think of them as the true engines of change, the collective voices that push, pull, and ultimately, redefine what's possible within a society.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack the meaning and the nature of these movements.
Right.
We'll explore what sparks their creation, and then journey through the rich tapestry of some of India's most impactful social movements.
Everything from women's rights to the environment.
To advocating for workers and for farmers, absolutely.
We've pulled together a pretty comprehensive set of materials for you, from foundational sociological definitions right through to detailed historical accounts.
The goal here is to give you a real shortcut, to understanding these powerful forces, distilling the essential nuggets without hopefully overwhelming you.
Yeah, hopefully. So by the end of this deep dive, you'll walk away with a much clearer understanding of how collective action shapes a nation, particularly India.
And what crucial elements truly make a movement impactful and, lasting.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
So when we talk about social movements,
Huh.
where did the term even come from? I mean, it feels so familiar now.
Right, it does.
Well, it was the German sociologist Lawrence von Stein who really brought it into popular discourse. With his 1850 book, History of the French Social Movement, from 1789 to the present.
1850,
Yeah.
wow.
And it then rapidly gained traction in European discussions in the early 19th century, evolving as societies themselves industrialized.
What's really interesting, though, is that even though the term has been around for, quite a while, there isn't one single universally agreed upon definition.
No, that's true. Sociologists have approached it from different angles, but there are definitely some strong common threads, right?
I'd assume so.
Absolutely. While no two definitions are identical, they all point to several core ideas. You've got Turner and Killian, for instance.
Okay.
They emphasize the idea of a collectivity acting with some continuity to promote or resist a change. The continuity part is key there.
Continuity, right. Not just a flash in the pan.
Exactly. Then you have Herbert Blumer, who saw them as collective enterprises to establish a new order of life, highlighting their transformative ambition.
I like that the idea of a sustained effort toward a new order, it really emphasizes the deliberate nature.
It does. And Sidney Tarrow provides an even broader view. He described them as collective challenges to authority, established cultural codes,
Right.
by people with common purposes and solidarity in sustained interactions with elites, opponents, and authorities.
So sustained interaction in challenging the status quo, that seems central.
It really is. What's critical here is that movements are about sustained interaction.
Yeah.
They're not just a brief outburst.
That makes a lot of sense. So if we pull all that together, what are the truly defining characteristics? How do we know we're looking at a social movement and not just, say, a protest that happens once?
Well, the first and most fundamental thing is that they're always collective in nature.
Right, a group effort.
It's never just one individual acting alone. There has to be a group, a shared sense of purpose.
Okay.
Second, and this is crucial, they are planned and deliberate. Unlike, spontaneous events like riots, movements involve strategy, organization, conscious effort.
So it's not just a gut reaction, but a thoughtful, sustained push.
Exactly.
And I'd imagine that push needs something to guide it, right? Like a compass.
Precisely. They are always backed by a guiding ideology and very clear objectives. They know what they stand for and what they aim to achieve.
Makes sense.
And finally, their ultimate purpose is always social change. Whether that means promoting a new social order or actively resisting an existing change that they perceive as harmful, this really distinguishes them from other forms of social action.
That's a really helpful framework. It helps us see why some moments in history spark lasting change and others just fizzle out. Speaking of sparks, what typically causes a social movement to actually emerge? Society is always evolving, sure, but movements aren't random.
You're right. They definitely arise from very specific causal situations. One powerful catalyst is what sociologists call cultural drift.
Cultural drift, okay.
This happens when values, ideas, expectations in society begin to shift, sometimes quite rapidly, when the gap between what people expect and what is actually accepted or happening widens too much.
Ah, like a tension building up.
Exactly. That tension can become a potent breeding ground for conflict, often leading to a movement.
We can almost see that playing out today, can't we? With how rapidly technology changes our lives and old norms suddenly seem out of step.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
What else throws the societal balance off kilter?
Well,
Another key factor is social disorganization. Think about rapid industrialization or urbanization.
okay, big societal shifts.
Right. These processes can lead to incredibly uneven growth, where new norms clash directly with established ones. This creates widespread confusion, a sense of disconnect, and often deep dissatisfaction within society.
Sort of setting the stage for people to demand collective action.
Precisely. And then there's a really powerful, almost visceral one, perceived social injustice.
Yeah, that feels fundamental.
When groups of people feel profoundly dissatisfied and frustrated by decisions from authority, when they believe they're being treated unfairly, that fostering of injustice can be an incredible catalyst for mobilization.
You can see how that would fire people up.
Absolutely. And finally, there's rigidity in normative structure.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
This is when societal norms lose their flexibility. They just no longer align with the evolving expectations of the masses.
Like the rules don't fit reality anymore?
Exactly. When that happens, it can create a widespread feeling of alienation and a powerful demand for change. It's almost like a pressure cooker ready to blow.
It's important to remember, though, that while social movements are powerful drivers of social change, not all social change is a direct result of a specific movement, is it?
No, that's a crucial distinction. A social movement has a life cycle. It emerges, it operates, it can eventually decline.
Right.
Social change, on the other hand, is universal and continuous. It's always happening, whether or not there's an organized movement pushing it.
So it's the difference between a deliberate, organized push and the ongoing, sometimes subtle evolution of society.
Precisely.
Now, when we turn our gaze to India, we see that organized social reform movements truly began to flourish in the 19th century.
That's right. And interestingly, a significant driving force behind them was the intelligentsia, educated individuals who recognized systemic issues.
These movements weren't just about minor tweaks, were they? They were foundational, challenging, deeply ingrained customs.
Oh, absolutely. Think of Raja Rammohan Roy, for instance.
Okay, yeah.
Through the Brahmo Samaj, founded in 1828, he spearheaded significant religious, social, educational reforms. His most famous battle, of course, was his tireless crusade against the practice of Sati.
A horrific ritual. His work there is crucial.
Absolutely. And his advocacy directly contributed to the Abolition of Sati Act in 1829. That's a huge shift right there, driven by that reformist push.
An immense one.
And then you have Swami Dayanand Saraswati with the Arya Samaj in 1875. He pushed for a return to Vedic principles, but, crucially, rejected the caste system, idol worship superstitions.
And he championed women's progress, too, didn't he?
Yes, very much so. He was a vocal champion for women's progress and literacy, recognizing its foundational importance for society.
And we can't talk about women's emancipation without mentioning Mahatma Jyotiba Phule.
Definitely not. He established the Satya Shodhak Samaj in 1873. He was profoundly concerned with women's issues like education, widow remarriage, child marriage prohibition.
And his wife, Savitribai Phule, was a force in her own right.
Absolutely. Working alongside him, establishing one of India's first schools for girls. Incredible pioneers.
There really were.
And Rajshi Shahu Maharaj, as the ruler of Kolhapur from 1874 to 1922, he stands out for his direct and, frankly, vehement attacks on the caste system. He worked tirelessly for the cause of untouchables.
Direct action from a position of power.
Yes. And similarly, Maharshi Karve became a pioneering figure for women's education. He famously started the Mahila Vidyalaya in 1907 and what eventually became SNDT University in 1916.
Creating lasting institutions.
Exactly. And of course, the towering figure of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, a jurist, an economist who championed the rights of marginalized categories.
His slogan, educate, organize, agitate, that just perfectly encapsulates the essence of a social movement, doesn't it?
It really does. He established the Oppressed Classes Education Society in 1928, laying the groundwork for greater agency and voice.
And finally, Mahatma Gandhi.
Of course. The lawyer and political leader whose nonviolent resistance didn't just lead India to independence, but also fueled nationwide campaigns.
And his focus wasn't singular, was it?
Not at all. He worked to eradicate poverty, expand women's rights, build religious tolerance and untouchability, and achieve Swaraj, self-rule. These figures truly laid the ideological and practical groundwork for the organized movements that followed.
Let's turn our spotlight now to the women's movement in India. It's a force with a remarkably long and impactful history.
Absolutely. Its roots stretch way back to the early 19th century, very much overlapping with those general social reform efforts we just discussed.
Right, so it didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Not at all. During this initial phase, groups like Brahmo Samaj and Arya Samaj were pivotal in forming Mahila Mandals.
Mahila Mandals.
Yeah, they essentially created some of the very first public platforms for women to gather, exchange ideas, and, organize.
So creating a space for women's voices.
Exactly. And reformers like Raja Rammohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Baramji Malbari actively challenged deeply ingrained discriminatory customs against women.
And what's fascinating is how these efforts, often led by men initially, bore tangible legal fruit.
That's right. We saw key British enacted laws reflecting this growing pressure. Things like the Prevention of Sati Act in 1829, the Widow Remarriage Act of 1856.
Major legislative changes.
Huge changes. And the push for women's education also really gained momentum here. This eventually led to figures like Margaret Cousins, an Irish feminist.
Oh, interesting.
Who was instrumental in founding the Women's Indian Association in Madras in 1917, often considered India's first feminist group.
Right, and that led to the All India Women's Conference in 1926.
Exactly, signaling a much more organized nationwide approach.
Okay, so that's phase one. What about the second phase?
The second phase really took off during the nationalist movement. This period saw a significant and strategic increase in women's participation.
Influenced by Gandhiji.
Greatly influenced by Gandhiji's calls for mass mobilization, yes. Women weren't just passive supporters. They actively joined protests, faced jail time.
And often stepped into leadership roles when men were imprisoned.
That's right. It's incredible to think about the courage of women like Kasturba Gandhi, Vijayalakshmi Pandit, Annie Besant, who notably led the Home Rule movement.
And Sarojini Naidu.
Yes, Sarojini Naidu, who worked tirelessly for women's suffrage and led the Congress wing in the civil disobedience movement.
It wasn't just individual heroism either, was it?
No, the Quit India Resolution in 1942 even explicitly addressed women as disciplined soldiers of Indian freedom struggle, acknowledging their vital role.
Wow. So then, post-independence, phase three.
The post-independence era, or the third phase, initially saw a bit of a lull, actually.
Really? Why was that?
Well, political independence, understandably, overshadowed other goals for a time. But a pivotal moment came with the United Nations declaring 1975 as the International Women's Year.
Ah, the global context.
And 1975-85 as the International Women's Decade. This global recognition really spurred a resurgence.
And wasn't there a key report around that time?
Yes, a landmark 1974 report, Toward Equality. That truly sharpened the focus. It starkly brought to light the invisibility of women, patriarchy, and violence against women in independent India.
So revealing that political freedom hadn't automatically translated into gender equality?
Exactly. It was a wake-up call. This report shifted the movement's primary focus towards challenging violence against women, dismantling sex stereotyping, and demanding real legislative equality.
And did it lead to more action on the ground?
It definitely did.
Yeah.
Women's organizations became incredibly active in major cities like Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, publishing newsletters like Baija, the Feminist Network, Manushi.
Creating platforms for discussion and mobilization.
Vitally important platforms. This period also saw decisive legal cases that really shaped the modern movement. The Mathura rape case in 1972.
Yes, I remember that.
The Rup Kanwar Sati case in 1987, and of course the Nirbhaya rape case in 2012.
These cases forced issues like dowry deaths, even teasing that awful term for public sexual harassment and domestic violence into the national consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And into legal debate. We also saw the vital emergence of a specific Dalit feminist movement during this time, addressing those crucial intersectional injustices.
And that brings us to the ongoing phase, phase four.
Yes, the current phase. We see the movement continuing to gather momentum and, crucially, reaching into rural and tribal parts of India, not just urban centers.
That's a big shift.
It is. And it now involves women from incredibly diverse professions, journalism, academia, medicine, corporate sectors, truly reflecting society's fabric.
So what are the core objectives now?
The core objectives remain a tenacious struggle for equal rights, the elimination of discriminatory practices, and the full realization of women's potential across all spheres of life.
And it's broader now, involving more than just activists.
Yes, it's no longer just women activists. You have enlightened men, NGOs, and even the government itself through policies like the Vishaka Guidelines from 1997, revised in 2013, to address workplace sexual harassment.
So it shows how what started as a protest is now increasingly integrated into mainstream policy effort.
Exactly. It highlights a critical evolution.
Okay, from shaping fundamental social values, let's now turn our attention to the bedrock of any industrial society. Its workers.
The workers' movement.
The push for fair treatment and dignity in the workplace has fueled another powerful force for change in India.
That's right. The advent of the factory system and modern industry in India, while bringing economic growth, also brought widespread exploitation.
We're talking about minimal wages, grueling long hours.
Unsafe conditions, lack of promotion opportunities. Yeah. This naturally prompted collective protest because individual complaints just weren't enough.
So that first phase, roughly 1850 to 1918, were protests effective then?
They were largely spontaneous and isolated initially, but we saw a key turning point in 1875 when Shapurji Bengali revolted against poor labor conditions.
Ah, so direct action.
Yes, and this contributed significantly to the enactment of the First Factories Act in 1881. A tangible result.
And then Narayan Magaji Lokhande, he's often called the father of the Indian workers' movement.
That's right. He started India's first workers' organization, the Bombay Mill Hands Association, in 1884, a vital step towards organized labor.
So, moving towards organization, then the second phase, 1918 to 1947, that sounds like a period of escalation.
It really was, defined by the rise of pressure groups and formalized unions. Post-World War I, there was a huge surge of mass discontent.
Why then specifically?
Wages stagnated while costs and corporate profits soared. It led to widespread strikes across textile mills in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, woolen mills in Kanpur, jute mills in Calcutta, steel in Jamshedpur, railways, seafarers. It was everywhere.
Wow. And this period saw the formation of the big unions.
Exactly. The pivotal formation of organized trade unions. October 1920, the All India Trade Union Congress, AITUC, was established.
Under Lala Lajpat Rai.
Yes, a monumental moment signaling a consolidated voice for workers. Then, the Indian Trade Union Act of 1926 granted constitutional recognition to registered unions, legitimizing their role.
So, formal recognition by the state.
Right. The Bombay Textile Labor Union, under N.M. Joshi, was among the first to be recognized.
And ideology played a role here too, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Leftist ideology, particularly Marxian thought, gained significant prominence. It provided a powerful framework for mobilizing the working class against capitalist exploitation.
And the Great Depression must have fueled this.
It absolutely intensified these struggles. Leaders like Muzaffar Ahmed and Shripad Amrit Danj played increasingly crucial roles in organizing and leading workers through truly desperate times.
Okay, so after independence, phase 3, 1948 to 1960, what changed?
We saw new formations like the Indian National Trade Union Congress, INTUC, in 1947, which was affiliated with the ruling Congress Party.
Ah, the political connection.
Exactly. Other significant organizations like Hind Mazdoor Sabha, HMS, UTUC, and Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, BMS, also emerged.
So more organizations, but also more politics involved.
Yes. A notable and impactful trend was the increasing politicization of unions, with political parties often developing their own labor wings.
Which could lead to splits, I imagine.
It often did. The Communist Party split, for instance, led to the formation of the Center of Indian Trade Unions, CITU.
And the demands changed too, beyond just wages.
Yes. Grievances evolved. Workers began demanding fair dismissal processes, promotion opportunities, and crucially, an emphasis on workers' dignity and respect in the workplace.
Okay, then the fourth phase, after 1960. Consolidation, but also challenges.
Right. While the movement saw early successes in the 50s, it faced a lull in the 1960s due to economic slowdowns. The Industrial Disputes Act of 1947 was put in place to mediate conflicts, aiming to formalize dispute resolution.
But things didn't necessarily improve dramatically after that.
No. The movement experienced a major setback and lost significant momentum after the 1970s. The Great Bombay Textile Strike of 1982 is a really painful example.
Led by Data Samant. Tell us about that.
It involved a staggering 250,000 workers from 65 mills. They were demanding wage hikes and the scrapping of the Bombay Industrial Act of 1947.
Huge mobilization.
Massive. But the strike lasted for years and ultimately failed. It led to immense pauperization for hundreds of thousands of workers and had profoundly negative impacts on industrial relations across the country.
A real blow to the
A
movement.
huge flood. It was a clear demonstration of the limits of union power in a changing economic landscape.
So what's the state of the movement today?
Well, as of 2012, there were over 16,000 trade unions in India, largely still divided along political lines.
In the largest is.
The Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, BMS, remains the largest. Others like AITU, and SIA, the Self-Employed Women's Association, are also prominent.
So it's transformed.
Fundamentally. Changed its focus, its leadership shifting from philanthropists to workers themselves, then to professional union leaders, and its relationship with the government, all intricately tied to that politicization. It's a complex and ever-evolving landscape.
Okay, next, let's turn to another foundational force in India, the farmers' movement.
Right. Given India's identity as an agricultural nation,
Exactly. While farmers are geographically scattered, history shows they have consistently consolidated their power and risen up in response to unrest.
that's a crucial point. The first phase of farmers' agitation, say 1857 to 1921, was directly spurred by the profoundly exploitative British revenue system.
The zamindari system being a major issue?
Huge issue. It often stripped poor farmers of their land, pushing them into a cycle of debt and despair, compounded by recurring famines.
And this led to actual revolts.
Oh, yes. Significant early revolts. You had the Deccan riots against predatory moneylenders, the Bengal tenants' upsurge, directly challenging the zamindari system.
And specific struggles led by national figures?
Yes, the Champaran struggle in Bihar against oppressive indigo planters, and the Satyagraha movement of peasants in Kaira, Gujarat, against land revenue collection during crop failure. Both were notably led by the National Congress, showing early national political engagement.
So the Congress Party was initially involved. What happened in the next phase, 1922, 1946?
This saw the critical emergence of organized Kisan Sabhas, or peasant associations. There's actually a growing backlash when the Congress Party sometimes appeared to support landlords more than peasants.
So farmers started organizing independently.
Exactly. Many Kisan Sabhas, often with revolutionary aims, were formed across Bengal, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh.
And specific leaders emerged.
Yes, the Kisan Sabha movement in Bihar, under Swami Sahajanand Saraswati, particularly targeted the zamindari system, and then the formation of the All India Kisan Sabha, AIKS, in 1936.
At the Lucknow session of Congress.
Right, a significant step in consolidating farmers' struggles across the entire country. Leaders like Raja Mahendra Pratap in Punjab and Gandhi in Kedah were instrumental in mobilizing peasants.
Okay, so post-independence, a new era.
Yes, a new era of farmers' struggle, starting notably in the 1970s. Political independence, surprisingly, did not immediately alleviate the harsh conditions for many farmers,
Especially in the more developed agricultural states.
particularly there. This disparity led to new waves of movements. Karan Singh emerged as a prominent figure.
And he had a different vision for agriculture.
He did. He challenged the prevailing notion of heavy mechanization and industrialization, advocating for low capital investment, believing it was more suitable for India's small farmers. He even formed political parties like the BKD and the BLD in 1974.
Giving farmers a direct political voice.
Yes, and farmers also began forming groups independently of traditional political organizations. Conventions in New Delhi in 73 and 78 saw them present a formidable 20-point charter of demands.
Demanding representation.
Exactly. Key milestones include the formation of the Shetkari Sangatana under Sharad Joshi
In Maharashtra.
and the Karnataka Raja Rayod San under M.D. Nanjundaswamy in 1980, powerful independent farmer unions challenging government policies directly.
Which brings us to the current situation, which is often quite grim.
It is. What's truly heartbreaking is how the impacts of industrialization, globalization, relentless seasonal fluctuations, and perceived government apathy have led to severe despair.
Farmer suicide. It's become a tragically common phenomenon.
It's a stark reminder of the immense pressures they face. And the movement continues to evolve, finding new ways to protest.
Like the March 2018 march to Azad Maidan in Mumbai.
Yes, thousands of farmers from Maharashtra. Or the unprecedented use of the term farmers' strike by the media when farmers protested by literally throwing their produce onto roads.
Symbolizing their desperate plight.
Exactly, marking a radically new, more assertive chapter in their ongoing struggle.
Finally, let's delve into another critical area. The environmental movement in India.
A really crucial one for our times.
It's an incredibly diverse field, but Gadgil and Guha offer a good working definition, don't they?
They do. An organized social activity consciously directed towards promoting sustainable use of natural resources, halting environmental degradation, or bringing about environmental restoration, also called the Green Movement or Conservation Movement.
Now, modern environmentalism started globally in the 60s, right, with Earth Day and things like that.
Yes, events like the U.S. Environmental Policy Act in 1970, the first Earth Day, the Stockholm Conference in '72.
But India's movement has some unique characteristics.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
What's truly unique here is its broader aim. It's not just about a specific group's benefit. It often aims for the collective goodness of humankind.
And it's very inclusive.
Incredibly so. It consciously incorporates marginalized groups like tribal people, farmers, and women whose lives are directly intertwined with natural resources.
That makes sense. And its methods.
Primarily nonviolent yet assertive means, drawing on that Gandhian legacy. And it exerts constant pressure on authorities to factor in ecological collective goodness into policies, not just pure economic growth.
The root causes are familiar, though: degradation from industrialization, urbanization.
Deforestation, pollution, yes. Rapid degradation from unchecked resource use.
And there's an ideological tension here, too, isn't there, between different approaches?
Absolutely. On one hand, you have Gandhiji's idea of Gram Swaraj, self-sufficiency, indigenous solutions. On the other, a more radical Marxist perspective viewing environmental issues as rooted in societal inequalities.
Which shows the causes aren't just ecological, but deeply economic and social.
Precisely. And two significant environmental movements in India really exemplify these dynamics.
The first, and perhaps most iconic, has to be the Chipko movement.
Definitely. Started by Amrita Devi, embodying Gandhian principles, marked by incredible women's participation. Chipko literally means hug the tree.
Which tells you everything about their method.
It began in March 1973 in the Chamoli district, Himalayan region, under Sunderlal Bahuguna. Local livelihoods were inextricably linked to the forests, which were being logged indiscriminately for industry.
And the iconic moment?
April 1973. Contractors arrived in Mandal village to cut trees. The inhabitants, especially the women, physically embraced the trees, hugged them.
Wow. Direct, nonviolent action?
And it worked. This determined action forced the authorities to retreat, boosting morale for other communities facing similar threats. It wasn't just about saving trees, it embedded ecological consciousness within social justice.
A powerful example. The second major one is the Narmada Bachao Andolan, NBA.
Yes. Emerging from a different context, the era of big dams. Remember Nehru calling dams temples of modern India?
Right, but these projects inevitably cause massive displacement.
Exactly. That's where the NBA comes in. It formed in 1985, a powerful resistance led by the formidable Mehta Patkar.
Focused on the Sardar Sarovar Dam.
Yes, on the Narmada River. Despite promises of power and water for Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, it threatened the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands through displacement.
And the NBA gained international attention.
It did. Thousands of activists joined. Mehta Patkar's indefinite Dharna in October 1994 was a particularly impactful moment, pressuring state governments.
So it wasn't just against a dam.
No, the movement advocated for alternative, more sustainable electricity generation methods and, crucially, for adequate rehabilitation for all displaced communities.
Bringing issues of sustainable development to the forefront.
Absolutely. It fundamentally questioned large-scale development policies that ignored human and environmental costs. It forced a national conversation. Development for whom and at what price?
The environmental movement, like all these forces for change, continues to adapt and evolve. A constant, vital effort.
It really is. Constantly working to ensure the well-being of all people on the planet.
So what have we really learned from this deep dive into social movements today?
Well, we've seen how collective efforts, driven by powerful ideologies and aimed at specific changes, have profoundly shaped India's past and continue to define its present.
From the early social reformers laying crucial foundations for equality,
to the organized struggles for workers' rights, the persistent fight for farmers' livelihoods, and that critical advocacy for environmental preservation.
These movements aren't just vital for societal evolution, they are its very heartbeat, wouldn't you say?
I would. They aren't just historical footnotes, they are ongoing dynamic processes. They emerge to respond to injustices and relentlessly push for a better future.
They unequivocally demonstrate the sheer power of collective will to either promote change
or resist it, exactly.
So, as you, our listener, consider the cultural drifts and perceived social injustices that continue to emerge in our world today, think about this.
What new forms of collective action might these pressures inspire?
And perhaps even more importantly, what role do you play in shaping these ongoing societal dialogues and the profound changes that undoubtedly lie ahead?